Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Indie Zone. My name is Kathy. It has been almost 3 years since Detective Brett Payne signed the Affidavit of Probable Cause of December 29th, 2022, which requested a warrant for Mr. Kohberger's arrest, which was issued that same day by Magistrate Judge Megan E. Marshall after she entered an order finding probable cause based on statements under oath, and the only item that is under oath that appears on the court docket, Idaho versus Kohberger, is the aforementioned Affidavit of Probable Cause. In one of the pages, specifically page number 5, Detective Brett Payne wrote, "During the processing of the crime scene, investigators found a latent shoe print. This was located during the second processing of the crime scene by the ISP forensic team by first using a presumptive test and then amino black, a protein stain that detects the presence of cellular material. The detected shoe print showed a diamond-shaped pattern similar to the pattern of a Vans type shoe sole just outside the door of DM's bedroom located on the second floor. This is consistent with DM's statement regarding the suspect's path of travel. We have learned since the signing of this Affidavit of Probable Cause nearly 3 years ago that law enforcement, the state, believed that the suspect's entry and exit of 1122 King Road occurred through the slider located in the kitchen, apparently just a few steps away from where this latent shoe print was found by ISP, as described by Detective Brett Payne. In reviewing documents released by the Moscow Police Department from their investigatory files, one of the original first responders, Corbin Smith, took photographs in the snow in the rear of the property. This would have been consistent with the entry and exit by the suspect, as was the theory of law enforcement. And we also have recently been provided with photographs from the Idaho State Police of shoe prints in the snow in the rear of the property. So the question is, whatever happened regarding what appears to be evidence left by the suspect, these shoe prints inside and outside of the property? And why wasn't Mr. Kohberger's shoe prints or photographs of his shoes taken when a warrant was served upon him at the Latah County Jail to take evidence of his person shortly after his return from Pennsylvania, where he was arrested, to Idaho? In this regard, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to direct your attention to Kohberger search warrant, Idaho State Police narrative. This is sequence number, supplement number 0083. This is written by Gideon Roberts. He writes in the summary narrative as follows. On January 5th, 2023, at about 1:57 p.m., I, Idaho State Police detective and Fed Task Force officer Gideon Roberts, served a search warrant on the person of Brian Christopher Kohberger, at the Latah County Jail, located at 522 South Adams Street, Moscow, Idaho. The warrant was signed by Idaho Magistrate Judge Megan Marshall, commanding the collection of prints, hair, buccal swabs, and photographs. The search warrant was part of the ongoing quadruple unaliving investigation of Kaylee Gonzalez, Madison Mogan, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. All evidence collected was transferred to the Moscow Police Department. And in going down now to the narrative section of this report, paragraph 1 reads, on January 5th, 2023, at about 1:57 p.m., I served a search warrant on Kohberger at the Latah County Jail. Also present at the time of service was Kohberger's attorney, Ann Taylor, and her associates, Mick McCarthy and Jay Logston, Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Aston, Latah County Sheriff's Deputy Southern, ISP Forensic Lab Scientist 2, ISP Forensic Laboratory Scientist 2, Tara Martinez, ISP Forensic Laboratory Scientist 2, Haley Youngling, and Fed Special Agent Travis Shirley. I audio recorded the entire event. Paragraph 2. After introducing myself to Kohberger and advising him of the search warrant, providing his attorney a copy of the search warrant, Scientist 2 Martinez and Scientist 2 Youngling began collecting the evidence as prescribed in the search warrant. Kohberger was compliant throughout the process. Paragraph 3. At about 2:58 p.m., Scientist 2 Martinez and Scientist 2 Youngling completed the evidence collection. Kohberger was returned to his cell while his attorney observed the final packaging of the collected, and if we go to page 2 of 2, the sentence continues, evidence. Paragraph 4. On January 6, 2023, I transferred the audio recording and the photos onto compact discs, processed them onto MPD's evidence, and transferred them to MPD evidence technician Tim Smallridge. I also provided Kohberger's attorney a copy of the evidence collection log via email. Paragraph 5. On January 9th, 2023, I provided the evidence collection log and original to MPD Detective Brett Payne, who returned the warrant. And this concludes this 2-page report. If I could make some observations here, ladies and gentlemen. We see here that this warrant was served upon Mr. Kohberger on January 5th, 2023, at about 1:57 p.m. This was immediately after his return from Pennsylvania based on his decision not to fight extradition. Mr. Kohberger was arrested in Monroe County, Pennsylvania on December 30th, 2022. He remained in Pennsylvania for approximately a week. At his extradition hearing in Monroe County, he did not fight extradition. He voluntarily decided to return. He returned voluntarily to Idaho to face charges, and this warrant was executed on the 5th of January, 2023. This occurred just days after Detective Brett Payne, who was provided the evidence collection log, signed the affidavit of probable cause. Yeah, knew or should have known what he wrote on page number 5. Why wasn't a red flag raised about the latent shoe print inside the house? Why weren't shoe prints taken of Mr. Kohberger? Why weren't photographs taken of his shoes? There's no evidence at all that this was ever requested or taken. It appears that there were two scientists who collected this evidence without one photograph taken of his shoes and no prints taken of his shoes, no evidence collected, despite the fact that there was a shoe print that was found inside the house, according to Detective Payne, leading to his arrest. If the issue of the shoe prints was not relevant, was not exculpatory or inculpatory to Mr. Kohberger, why would it be mentioned, a shoe print inside the house in the affidavit of probable cause? Why would both MPD and ISP law enforcement go to the trouble of taking photographs of shoe prints in the rear of the property in the exact location where law enforcement stated the entry and exit into the property was? Wouldn't this have fit with the theory that the shoe print outside of DM's door, the thought to be path toward that rear slider, would coincide with any shoe prints found outside? These are questions that I raise, rhetorical questions, based on the documents from the case. Whatever happened to those shoe prints, and were they exculpatory or inculpatory to Mr. Kohberger? If you have any comments, any thoughts, any opinions, please leave them here. Until next time, this is Kathy. Thank you for joining us here today.